Hey guys, yeah, so the fireplace has calmed down a little bit for noise wise, so that's okay. Now, next I want to take my LED lights out that I just recently got from Wish, and I'm going to put the resin on, the 2-part epoxy Gorilla Glue, to kind of make them a little more durable and go from there. But there we go. So there's a bunch of circuits there, and I'm going to basically cover all the circuitry up with the epoxy, avoiding the lights and the USB connections. So I'll set these up, get things ready. And I'm just using the plastic tray that I used the first time. And one thing I did forget to bring to the tiny house was the FLIR camera from work, which would give me a good reading of how cold the floor is, temperature, and so on and so forth. So we'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to put these guys on the flat and try not to glue them together. See if I can zoom in a bit more so you guys can see. And what I'm going to do is basically just take this epoxy and hopefully get some stuff glued. Hopefully it's not frozen or anything. Maybe it is. Okay, because I didn't properly cap it, so okay, there's a little bit coming out. I need to take something sharp and small and pointy and put it through those holes. So I'm going to take this drill bit that I was using for pre-drilling most of the work at the tiny house. Let's see if I can get things underway. It's kind of a little too big actually, but see if that, yeah, that did it. So I don't need a whole lot this time. So take my little wooden paddle thing here and kind of work this all in together. I guess you guys can't see what I'm doing. Right here. Work the epoxy in with one another. It's awfully thick because of the cold temperatures. So hopefully this all goes well. So I'm going to apply it. Might actually be a little easier applying it when it's this cold. It's pretty much coated, guys. Okay, so what I want to do is I'll take that guy, kind of go like that, So he's sitting like that, and then I'll take a little bit more of the epoxy. Whoops. Ugh. Guess I'll use whatever came out of there for now. Mix that back in and finish the last piece. That's how cold it is in here, guys. The epoxy is quite thick. So here we go. I'm going to try to avoid the lights and the USB connection if at all possible. Okay, that one seems to be done. So that worked out pretty well, actually. They're both covered. You guys can see that. So that should help shield the components from any nastiness, giving it somewhat of a waterproofing. Okay, so next, a little bit more came out that I wanted, that I really didn't want, but okay. So now, if I zoom out, actually I'll zoom right out. So I'm just gonna put, actually I'm gonna put some new tape on this epoxy, because that stuff is pretty sticky already. So I'm just going to use some of this painter's tape because it's handy. Now I was supposed to, apparently a student let me know that the piece that I took out of this Gorilla Glue was actually a cap for this as well, so guess a little too late for that now, but so I'm just going to put it on loosely so I'm able to rip this thing off when I need to. There we go. So he's done. Leave the epoxy got stick in there, I guess. Pull that back. Put the stick underneath. Shouldn't stick to anything. So I'll leave this plate out like so, and let that cure up. And we'll probably take a good 24 hours. And then go from there. But at least I can get rid of the resin. But here, let me grab the camera. It's better when I'm right above manning the camera. You can really zoom in and see all the circuitry that's now covered in the epoxy. And there was quite a bit. And this has 6 LEDs per light, and they're reversible, so that's pretty good, guys. And I'm just going to set that drill bit, because I did get some epoxy on there. I'm just going to set it on that piece of paper material so it doesn't stick to anything too badly. And we'll go get rid of the resin here. And then I'm going to check, I'm curious to check on the fire, guys, on how much power it draws even in the cold. If there's a big difference off-grid wintertime to you know, whoa, to any other time. So now that we're up and running, and it's starting to really get nice and toasty in here already. We brought it up quite a bit already, so it's 30.4 Fahrenheit, 65% humidity. And I put that piece of ceramic on here as a because where this trivet goes, there's a that drops down inside and limits my airflow. So I removed that, put this flat piece of ceramic, and that way it's kind of blowing the air out better, like forwards. And it's also going to use this as a thermal mass to heat up a little bit. Now it's not perfect because I had to do this edge with some metal still, so it's kind of goofy, but I'll figure it out once I get some proper materials. Tank's still okay, guys, so I always double check, triple check that stuff. Turn the light back on. So even in the cold temperatures, guys, this guy right here is controlling my heat, power for my heat, and it's still in float. On an overcast, windy, the panels are covered in snow because I didn't have a brush to brush them off, and a little bit of bird crap as well, but still pretty awesome. And my other one that's not in use still in float. So pretty damn good, guys, pretty damn good. And let's see, oh, I can actually give you guys, the Europeans, the temperature in Celsius if I flip through here. So if I click this, 2 degrees Celsius, it's reading. 0.8 amps coming in. The solar, my load is the LED light, 0.3 amps. 18 amp hour load. So pretty damn good, guys. I gotta admit, that's really good. So pretty impressed. Yeah, I don't have the lights on, but that's fine. Now, one thing I did bring over here, as well as these lights that are just curing, I brought over, in the corner of my bedroom, I had this 12 volt LED, well, it's 120 volt to 12 from IKEA. When I went to IKEA a long time ago, I picked this up. I thought it was really cool at the time. Nice long LED light stick, and I want to use that back here, guys, possibly. So either run it in a straight line so it shoots the light down, or something like that. But yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I gotta fix this radiant barrier because it's just ready to go. I wonder if I could staple it to the back of that foam wall. See with the wind, guys, outside, it's actually fluttering the survival blanket. That's how nasty it is outside and cold. Oh my god, it's cold out. I didn't think we'd have an actual winter this year because it just started, so. But there you go. So today, yeah, that was quite the setup today. So I'm gonna let stuff cure. My dad said he's going to give me an old table, folding table he has as a workbench. So that'll save me some money. I won't have to buy anything. And then I'm going to use this black sheet of acrylic, I guess is what it is. And I'm going to use that as like a tabletop for it. Because I believe it's kind of it's not really a nice flat surface, but I'll use that to cover it and kind of smooth things over and go from there. I didn't bring any tools to get back to work here, guys, so sorry about that. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen today, but at least I'm going to get the heat back on in the tiny house and things will be good. But now we're up to 31.4 already. Humidity's gone up a bit, surprisingly, but there you go. Pretty damn nice. Now, even though I got my slippers on, so now see this the floor here is nice and warm next to the fire, and as the longer the fire runs, the heat kind of is trapped, bouncing off the walls and off the ceiling, and it's being forced into the floor to heat the floor up. So if I ran the fireplace for about an hour, it would probably heat the floor up, but because of the wind and I don't have any skirting, this floor is hellishly cold, and I forgot to bring the thermal camera so I can show you guys how cold it is compared to everything else, which kind of sucks, but hey, that's got snagged on something there. Oh, one thing I wanted to do though, you guys remember my ugly aerial up here. What I can do, because I left a whole ton of wire for the cable TV, and I'm thinking going back this way is going to be the best option for the TV. I'm going to run this cable, guys, up inside the ceiling of the tiny house, right? Now that I have my chase. So if I attach it to the rope here, it should be an easy pull all the way up through and over to the other side of the trailer, and then I can have it drop down, because I'm really thinking about mounting that TV on that flag wall where the flag is. I got a bunch of these little clamps, these electrical clamps that are actually really good. They're expensive too. For a piece of plastic, I can't believe. It's highway robbery, I think, but there we go. So these guys, if I can get them off, are the expensive little wire connectors. They're clamps, I should say. And I think I paid $6 for a bag of a dozen. What a rip-off. Now I was at the local Home Depot. So, pretty crazy. But yeah, this definitely has to be run. And I don't know if I'll do that today. I just wanted to pop in, have the propane set up, and check on things. So, since it is the first real winter that the tiny house is going to face, well, not really, because I was in a blizzard here with 0 solar panels, and that was hellish. But I think I've told that story a few times. That one tested my survival skills for sure. But yeah, the solar panels seem to be doing really well in my first full-on snowing winter here, guys. So that's really good. And it looks like I have plenty of this cable to go all the way across the ceiling to the other side of the trailer, guys. So that's going to be awesome. Then I can hook that up to my TV eventually when I get around to that. And let's check on the solar again. We're still on float. So my heating system, electrically wise, is not drawing enough power to put a damper on my situation whatsoever. Even if I didn't have solar coming in, guys, I could definitely run the heat all night if I had to. So that's a huge bonus. Huge bonus. There we go. Get a nice view of me of the fire. I'm going to stand kind of close. But this thing it's doing a lot better job of throwing the heat out. But I am looking for alternatives to better fans. What I'm going to do is I have a fan here just as a, this isn't the actual size of the fans in the fireplace, guys. They're about half of this size. What I'm going to do though, next time I'm in the fireplace doing maintenance, I'm going to take this screw out. If you guys see, there's a screw here that holds the cage on. And what I'm going to do is remove a screw, and inside on the bracket that's in there, there's a bunch of screw hole mounts for the original fan that I took out of there that ran on 120 volts, needed an inverter, and drew quite a lot of power out of my battery banks. So I got rid of that and downsized to 5-volt fans, which are awesome. And actually, I believe they do a better job than 120 volts. So now I was running the fan on modified sine wave, so it wasn't doing a very good job anyway. So these fans at least are just USB powered and don't have to worry about inverters and all that junk. So like I say, I'm going to take this screw out, and then I'm going to take a piece of wire and run it through the mount inside the fireplace and basically twist the wire in there, and that will hold the fan in place up closer to where it has a bunch of air behind it, as a so it has all that airflow behind it. Because right now inside the fans are sitting like this, 2 of them on the bottom inside of there. Now they got some little air gap here, but it's not very big. And then I have one fan kind of sitting on top. Well, that's the noisy one that doesn't have this mount. So if I'm able to get rid of these bases, period, which I can do easily, just undo the screws, and then mount a couple of them hanging off a couple of the, I can probably get 2 and maybe leave one at the bottom sitting like this. Have 2, I'll take the ones that aren't noisy and mount those closer to the top via the wire in the mount, and leave the old, I put the mount on the older one and just sit it in there, and then that should improve the airflow quite a bit more, because it's hard for me to find a 12 volt or 5 volt all metal construction fan. I looked on Wish, I looked on Amazon, I really couldn't see anything. And remember guys, if you're gonna look for me, make sure you're on Amazon.ca. And when you actually experience shopping through Canadian websites, you'll see how badly censored we are over here. And what do I mean by censored? Well, ask Stu, High Tech Guy 18. He's done a lot of searching for me for suggesting products, and then when he goes to look up on a Canadian site that product, it's not even available. So I don't have a lot of options where I'm at, and even online. So just remember that, guys. I know people are just going to say, oh, just go to Amazon.com, and that's the American one. We're Amazon.ca here. And if I do shop from Amazon.com, I have to pay, I gotta pay more money obviously, because my dollar is worth about 77 cents per 1 American dollar. I'm not even par with you guys. I'm below. And then if it's really expensive, I gotta pay a duty fee on top of that. So I don't do a lot of shopping on there, so just to let you guys know that. But I'm already, guys, this is basically the dead of winter for us in Canada, and this fireplace, with all the work I did on the survival blanket, the walls, and the ceiling, I've already noticed a huge difference. The only thing that is not changed is the floor. It is freezing cold, so it makes you want to sit on the bed or sit in a chair so your feet are not touching the ground. Or like I say, I have slippers on. So, like right here, actually the floor is, you know, it's okay. It's warm. But, yeah, everything else, unless I run this for a long time, it's not going to warm everything up. Like I can literally feel the heat coming out of the floor and a little bit radiating off the fire and into my toes. So I don't get frostbite, for God's sakes. So I've got my socks on, I got slippers on, and it's still not enough on the floor. That's pretty bad. But that's because I can't put skirting on here, guys. Because if I put skirting on, then the landlord will be like, well, can't really do that because now you're kind of more like a permanent location. This is why I need land. If I had land, I'd have my skirting up, I'd have massive storage underneath the trailer like I did at the other property. If you go back in my older videos, guys, you'll see I had a pretty nice setup. And then the city was like, no, that's got to go. What a joke. So, if I get my own property out in the country, I'm sure I can still get internet high speed. They have rural high speed internet now. That's basically all I need. You can do a lot from the internet. You can pay your bills, you can have your entertainment, you can, God, everything nowadays. Phone calls, everything through there. So that's all I need is a high-speed internet hooked up to my tiny house. Now, one thing I gotta keep my cards to my chest because I don't want to put this out there because I know it works. Is let's say, well, you can't just live out there and have a residence out there and have a post office and all that. Well, you can. I know a way around it, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna tell you guys that because that would screw up my plans if I do and when and do put it into effect. It's all to do with getting. Well, once I do it and prove it, then I can share it with you guys. How about that? That'll be the best way. Okay, so we're up to 34.4 already. 68% humidity. And it's still nasty, 26.9 out. It's actually worse than that because the wind chill, which doesn't show up on my cheap weather station there. It's not even a weather station, it's just temperatures. If I had a weather station, it'd give you the little wind speed and everything, and adjust for the brutally cold wind chill. But what I can show you is next door. This thing is going like crazy. Now it's weird on camera. It looks like it's moving really slow, but it's actually spinning like crazy. So I don't know why the camera does it. It's, I guess, how it senses the movement or something. But that thing is just going like crazy outside. Almost like it's gonna destroy itself, to self-destruct, but that's how windy it is here, guys. I wish I had the turbine up, but then again, that's another thing. Turbine, skirting, solar panels, rain gutters, and rain catchment. I cannot do this stuff until I get land. So it's got me on a standstill, but at least I got the tiny house up to snuff for insulation wise, other than the floor. Actually, the floor is insulated to the hilt, but it's just the way it is. I don't have skirting to block out the cold wind, so it's just, the cold is just creeping up and sucking the heat out of here. So unless I have like really good slippers, these aren't really good, they're kind of cheap, but they're better than nothing for sure. Or I'd be stuck wearing shoes in here and then it'd be nasty, muddy mess because there's snow on them and everything, so I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah, this thing's definitely throwing the heat out. How's my, oh yeah, the vent pipe's nice and hot. It is definitely moving the heat around in here. Actually, what I should do is throw my ceiling fan on just to show you guys. So here, I'll spin you this way, zoom in on the master switch for you guys, and then you should be able to see that when I go throw the switch in the back. Now you get a nice reflection there from the fire. So I'll throw the power switch on back there and throw the fan on. Okay, there we go. Whoops, sorry, I'm still on Zoom. There's the fan on. I just turned that guy on because I didn't bother with anything else. But this should make things even better with air circulation in here. Get a shot of both the fan and the fireplace. And that's basically going to take, and it's going to help with, I can feel it already. It's moving the heat around quite a bit. So because there's a nice gap behind the fireplace, the air is getting pushed down from the ceiling. It's kind of making a nice air flow around the fireplace and shooting it around the tiny house, which is good. And because these things don't use a lot of power as well, I can run them pretty often as well. Not as often as, let's say, the fans inside the fireplace, but that's pretty nice. And that'll just helps any like residual heat that's just kind of stuck on the ceiling. That's going to be moved around here with this ceiling fan and bounced around all over the room here. And a little bit will actually go into the bathroom area as well, and go from there. But things are working out here pretty good, I think. Not too bad. And I'm just wondering about this epoxy, how long it actually takes to cure for these lights. I'm going to leave them for a good 24 hours though, just to make sure. And then I'll be able to test them out for the first time. I haven't even plugged these in yet. They came right out of the package and over to here, guys. So that'll be interesting to see how bright they are. I ordered not the warm color, but just the plain white bright LED. And I was either going to use those back there, but I'm thinking I'm going to use a combination of that, and I'm going to actually use these in conjunction with this guy, which is that flush thing. And I'm going to put that inside either my toolbox back there, so I have better access for lighting, so that would be awesome. And then I'll use the long strip and use that to light up the back room there, because it's hellishly dark back there. And even back in the bathroom area, if it wasn't for that solar light, it'd be pretty dark back there still as well. So this is a good lesson, guys, on finding out what the tiny house can do. And like I say, let's say this is a survival situation. I didn't have heat or power in here. So as an example, something happens, there's no heat, there's no power, there's no propane, there's no solar for whatever reason. Like I say, when I first came in here, way comfortable, even with it being dead cold and nothing going on in here, than it was outside. Gets you out of the wind. You can get off the floor and jump in the bed under all the covers, and your feet won't be cold. And it'll just take a little while for your body heat yourself will warm up the the layers of blankets and the bed itself, and then you'll kind of be your own self-generating heater under there. Just as a survival thing, like you can get through the night doing that. But wait till tonight, guys, when the sun goes down. Like the sun's out right now, and it's this cold. So imagine when the sun goes down tonight, how nasty it's going to drop. Cold weather wise and everything like that. So it's kind of one of those things where you kind of bless your lucky stars, you got some certain things and places to go in case of emergency. So this is definitely my bug out location, and I know all the water. I know pretty much the water sources around this area, so that's not an issue. I have water filters. I have my stockpile of food, and I know where to get more food if need to be. I don't like hurting animals, but if it's you or the animal, guess who's gonna win? It's gonna be you, and you'll be going after the squirrels and stuff like that. Those are the only critters, and rabbits will be out in this kind of conditions. But everything else will be hunkered down pretty much. So it's just the way it is. But I'm pretty proud of the way the tiny house is performing with all this heat here. Like I can just feel the heat just off the edge of this ceramic. The heat's just kind of flowing up, and then it's hitting the ceiling fan. The ceiling fan's actually bringing it back down and spreading it around, which is kind of nice. And then this fan is taking the heat around the top of the flue pipes here. Especially, I mounted it especially around the 90, because that's where your resistance is when it turns. So that's where the most of the heat is, and it's moving air around. And this fan is also moving air all the way around the unit itself as well. And it's working really well. The whole setup worked good. It's never gotten this warm in the tiny house this quickly since I've upgraded with survival blanket and made the roof space a little not as tall, so that because when you have a taller roof space, guys, everything goes to the ceiling and you're stuck in the cold way down here still. But now with the survival blanket behind the lowered ceiling, that heat's trying to get out, but it can't. The survival blanket's forcing it back down. And look at this already. Unbelievable. 38.1 Fahrenheit at 67% humidity. Now humidity's still high. It's going to be like that for, I'm going to say, a year, because when I first started putting my building materials in here, we got up to 70, 80, almost 90% humidity in the tiny house. If you go look at my old videos in the playlist, and that was because all your building materials, guys, wood, plywood, whatever, has moisture in it, and it takes a while before it dries out and cooks it off, and then once it's dry, then your humidity levels will start going down again, because obviously it's slowly passively getting rid of the moisture over time. And basically what I found was like in the summertime, once I had my tiny house built and everything, I had high humidity, high heat, and eventually the humidity just plummeted, and it would dried everything out because of that heat, right? It kind of baked it off and slowly escaped the tiny house with windows open and whatever. And so now that's got to happen again with all this new building material, all this new ceiling. And lumber, I actually have the 2x4s, the 1x2s, and then the plywood, right? So that is quite a bit of lumber to try to basically dry out. Kind of like firewood, you want to dry it out, get rid of as much moisture as you can, and then your tiny house is good to go. But other than that, you know, that's the way it is. So I got a mess in here, and I won't be back for a while because, you know, I don't like working in the cold too much. Just nasty. And actually, I don't. What I need to do is bring my saw, chop a couple 2x4s back there, mount them against that front wall, mount the plywood against the wall, and then secure the resin shelving, the plastic resin shelving up there, and then go from there. And then I need to pick another shelving unit up to match. And then I think what kind of batteries I'm going to go with, if at all possible. I don't know. Well, here's the thing. Batteries are expensive no matter what. And I'm looking through all the options basically of what am I, you know, what's the best way to go. I know lithium is absolutely the best way to go. However, the price is insane. Now, I found, Stu actually discovered when I was looking through batteries and stuff with him. He helps me out a lot because he knows his stuff. So, we found 6 volt golf cart batteries, 242 amp hours a piece. Awesome. Now, because they're 6 volt, I need to put 2 together in a series in order to increase the voltage. So 6 volts plus 6 volts equals 12 volts. That's what I want. And then I would need to buy, so that's two batteries at about $200 a piece, just to get me 242 amp hours, which is pretty good. That's really good. That's a lot of amp hours. Now, I'm thinking about getting 2, 4, 6 of those, putting them in series so they're all 12 volt, and then I'm going to parallel them so we get 242 plus 242 plus 242, and that brings us up to a big ass amp hour, and that's what you want. The biggest amp hour you want is the best, because then it'll take a lot to slowly bring it down. And with my loads, guys, that you see here, like, of course, these loads here, like my heating loads and my lighting and these fans are obviously going to be run separately on this little system here as my startup system. So my big battery bank that I'm going to be working on, that I'm explaining to you now, is going to be in the back storage room. It's going to have definitely an inverter on it, pure sine wave. It's going to have my MPPT charge controller on there. And it's going to have a string of 6 of my solar panels in series, so it's actually putting high voltage in to the MPPT, and from there the MPPT will control how much it charges and go on from there. Now, these 6 golf cart batteries need to be vented because they are, and I need to do maintenance on them, which means I have to add distilled water to them. Unless I buy, they have, Stu was showing me they have these caps you can put on, and you can recapture when these things vent, they recapture and put the stuff back into the battery. So I'm basically going to be looking those up, seeing how much they are, and I need 3 of them per battery, and I'll see what the expense is on that. If the expense is too much, then what I'll end up doing is buying some sealed AGMs instead of the 6 volt golf cart battery, because you know it's a maintenance thing where I got to be always adding water. I got to be venting the area outside, and it's kind of, you know, that's going to be a lot of work, a lot of nasty, and it could be deadly, especially if you're living in a small confined space, because the stuff that's coming off is hydrogen, and not only hydrogen, you're going to get a little bit of lead and mercury, because that's what the plates of the batteries are made out of. They're made out of lead. And normally when they mine lead, they find a lot of mercury. And so there'll be little particles of mercury and lead. And if you're breathing that in, guys, you're done. Like, your lungs are done, your health is done. So, it's all kinds of big concerns that I got to, you know, put into effect and look at. What else? Yeah. So that's my plan so far, and I'm kind of like, this is the holiday season, guys. So my work ethic slows right down, normally till spring. So the storage room's a mess. I'll probably leave it till then. I got all this to clean up, lots of stuff to. I'm basically going to be concentrating on the storage room in the spring into the new year for sure. There's going to be a ton of work back there. And then maybe eventually I'll come back to the bathroom area, do some more work back there, and slowly do little sections at a time and get the tiny house up and going again. And then hopefully I win a lottery or something, or inherit some land, and then if I get land, guys, the channel's going to explode, because I'm going to be able to. I'll have so many projects, guys, and so much stuff going on that I'll probably have. I don't know. I'll be so far ahead of the schedule that it's ridiculous. Because right now, guys, if you don't know, my videos, I make my videos en masse, and then I will schedule them one per day. That way I can give you guys a decent video a day. But the Patreon members, they get all my videos almost live. My Patreon members almost get live videos from me daily. Well, almost, because I give them the YouTube version, and then I give them their own Patreon version, which is like an hour and a half long of what I did. And it's all ad-free for them, and they just, you know, they donate whatever they want. I got one person donating $1 a month. I got another lady donating $3 a month. I got another person who just gave me $20, and I don't know if he's gonna continue on for the full $20 a month. That'd be nice. So thank you for sure. That was Alexander, by the way. And then I had another person who gave me $1 for 1 month, and that was it. So he had access to my videos for 1 month, and he decided, well, I don't really want to, or that's too much to give, or maybe he didn't like it, and that was it. So he undid that. But thanks anyway. Any little bit counts, guys, towards my project for sure. And especially since I pay $50 a month here for rent, if I'm able to, if that's taken care of for me, that means I have $50 that I have money to play with to get other stuff done in here. I can buy my shelving, for instance, back there for the plastic resin for the battery box, or the new battery bank, massive battery bank coming out back there. I can get a comfortable chair for myself in here, which I do not have yet. I can get a garbage container. Right now I just got a garbage bag on the floor. I slowly fill it up with stuff, and then when it gets full I get rid of it. So all these things, like stuff I can get done, like hardware, like connectors and stuff for my electronics, that's basically, that's what I'm looking at. Like $50, I can make $50 go a long way, guys, especially since you guys know I shop pretty thriftily, frugally, real frugal, Dollar Tree is my favorite store going because look at the price, right? And they got some decent stuff there if you know what you're doing. Like there's a lot of trash there, but if you go through and take a look, you know, you can find some good stuff. Survival blankets, for instance. Yeah, my second favorite store would be the Dollarama. It's $1. It's $5 and or less, and that's where I got the survival blanket that insulated this place. And it's a good survival option as well because they do work. So yeah. So like I say, guys, I'm close right now. Like I'm about halfway. Half of my rent is covered right now through Patreon. Almost. It's like $23. If it was $2 more, I'd have half my rent covered, and then that whatever money I don't use to pay rent here, I can use to buy and get more projects finished, like I said. So Patreon's working out well for me. I hope my members are enjoying. They get all the early access stuff before YouTube anyway, and it's ad free. And if you're a YouTube viewer watching me now, consider donating $1 a month on Patreon, and then you get to watch all my videos ad free, and don't even need to go to YouTube. You're watching it through Patreon, and then you can comment and do whatever and send me messages there and everything. So you know, consider that. Like instead of I don't know, it's up to you guys. Like it's you know whatever works. I'm not jamming anything down anybody's throats. If you like what I'm doing, you want to help, there you go. There's an option. But like I said, things are working out great. Other than I have a massive mess again in here. It's just crazy, but that's the way it is. We're up to 43.6 Fahrenheit now. 63% humidity. Humidity's coming. It's fluctuating. It's going wet to low, or wet to comfortable, I should say. 27 Fahrenheit outside, 73% humidity, and I'm gonna say it's at about. My dad has a weather station at home, guys, and basically what it does, it has a little turbine outside, so it measures wind speed, and then it does its calculations, and will tell you what the real temperature is outside with the wind chill. And when I left, it said -10. So, yeah, I believe that for sure, because that wind just cuts right through you. Now, before my camera dies, the battery is getting low here. I'm going to show you. The fan's been on a while. You guys have been listening to me talk and ramble on. So, this guy's been on. The tiny house is heating up awesomely. And look how much power I'm drawing. 14.1 volts my battery is still at. Can you say awesome? I can. That's amazing. I'm basically, it's not doing a dent into my system, guys. It's just giving it a little tickle, basically, and that's it. So I basically built a budget system, and it's working out great. And I got ceiling fans, I got lights, I got heat. I have all the ability in the world to charge batteries, to charge power packs, to run my on-demand hot water tank when I do have water on board the tiny house again. You guys, if you go back, you could see me at the other property. I actually had my own water and everything. Oh man, I miss that place. It's really, I'm telling you, the government and the cities nowadays, I don't know what they're doing. They're not doing the common man any favor, that's for sure. So, I'm really tempted to plug in one of these LED lights. I just want to not plug it in and then have the resin stick to the... have the light stuck to the actual socket where it gets powered. So I'm not even gonna. I'll do another video. I'll come back, check that out, see how everything works, and go from there. But this is pretty amazing for me, guys. Like now it says 44.5 Fahrenheit in here. And this has been on as long as I've been talking, basically. I didn't do any cuts. So, other than at the beginning when the fan got noisy and then I shut it off. But I always do that anyway because of the noise. And then, like you see, the noise, like once it warms up that fan, then it settles back down and is actually normal. And if it's not seized or burned out or anything, because if it was, I'd be tripping the fuse in there. It would have tripped the fuse and then I wouldn't have any power going. So it's definitely not that. It's just like a bad bearing or a worn out bearing in that fan. Whatever it is. But like I say, this is working out awesome. The heat is just rising up here. It's probably hit, this fan's carrying it, this ceiling fan's carrying it, and it's getting spread out all over the tiny house. And then I get a little bit of thermal mass when the fire does shut off. Like I said, the candle, if you guys remember that candle thing, was the terracotta pot. Since moving it, it's only melting half of it at the moment. Normally when it was first on the center here, it would just melt that instantly, because I can definitely cook off of this thing, no problem. But I do have another terracotta pot that I found right here, so I want to put him in action on top of the stove as well, because the clay holds the heat really well. And then I got my little clay heater there as well, and that's kind of just holding up the power pack, but it does gather some heat because it's gonna run this fan, and I don't want the wire to burn or anything, but this thing does get warm. So, but it's quite good, quite a good setup. I'm really loving this. This is, I'll have to name this video the winter breakdown of the off-grid tiny house. It's showing you all the different things of, you know, how the tiny house is working pretty well in the winter time. Now, if you go back to when I stayed over here during the blizzard, I know, just because I know, like I was there, I experienced it. This is heaven right now compared to what it was in the tiny house before solar panels, okay? All I had when I came over here in the blizzard, guys, I had the fireplace, don't get me wrong. I had lots of propane. I did not have a lot of power. So, before I changed the motor out, I ran the original motor through my orange power pack, and it ran for about 4 hours. And then the rest of the night, it was up to myself to stay warm. And I did not have as many layers as I did there. So what happened was, I took I'm going to go show you the light bulb that I took. It's actually the light bulb that lights up the bathroom area. This is the light right here that Primo donated. It's an LED light, but it generates heat. So I took this light under the covers with me with Primo's power pack, which I'll show you right here. And that powered that light under my covers during a blizzard and kept me going. Because I was shivering, I was in early stage hypothermia, definitely. Now that I have some awesome viewers out there, like Charles donated a bunch of stuff, a bunch of power packs. These guys are about, I'm gonna say, 5 times the amount of power as Primo's power pack. So let's say we have a nightmare scenario and I need to, you know, use these under the covers. Or not only I can use these under the covers, guys, these are USB. I can run the fireplace fans off of these all night if I have to. Let's say something happens with the solar system, boom, Charles comes to the rescue with his awesome donation. I can use his power packs, one to run the fans in the fireplace, and maybe even one under the covers. Not that I'll need it, I don't think, but that's pretty awesome. So actually, these need to be charged up. I should charge these up. So I'll do that before I leave. I'll leave these going on the charge in the back room there. But anyway, so that's my breakdown, guys, of the, I'll give you one more reading of the temperature before I head out. It's 46.2 Fahrenheit, 59% humidity. So the humidity is coming down. So every time I run the fireplace, obviously, it's going to cook, it's going to bake the tiny house a bit, dry things up, it's going to release some moisture, and 40 to 50% humidity is pretty good for, you know, a healthy place, healthy house in the wintertime. So I'm actually in the ballpark area. But this is awesome. What I'm going to do though, shut the fireplace off right now before the battery dies. And we'll see how long and how much temperature it goes when this is off. And actually, I'm going to charge up these power packs right now. Now that I was speaking of them, these guys need to be charged back in the back room. I won't show it because it's nothing special, but I'll just plug these in quick and leave these overnight charging. It's not a big worry to leave that stuff going, because why not, right? Okay. What I do need though is a little stand so I can hold those battery packs up. But I'll deal with that later. No big deal. And they work out great. So I leave my fans obviously running for a good half hour after the fire has shut down. So all that residual heat is still being heated or brought into the tiny house and not just going outside doing nothing. And it's doing its thing, so that's a good thing. And we'll see. Normally when the fan gets noisy again is when I can start killing it, because then it gets down to that low temperature area. But we won't worry about that yet. Yeah, so things are working out good here, guys. I'm pretty proud. And it's not, you know, it's not the prettiest tiny house out there, for sure. But it is budget. It's not no $100,000 tiny house. It's not no $50,000, $40,000, or $30,000 tiny house. We're on budget. We're going good. If I somehow get a miracle and get land, then I can really go to town and tighten up the tiny house. Skirting, wood stove for sure. And then with the skirting around the tiny house, guys, I have all the storage under the entire length of the tiny house. That allows me to store lawnmowers for maintenance of the property. I can store wood under here, firewood. I can store all kinds of stuff that normally you don't want in the house. Garden hoses, stuff like that. What else? Let's see. So many options. I'm going to be building a greenhouse if I get land. Grow my own food. Aquaponics for sure. Definitely when they legalize weed, I'll be growing that. And then I want to make the cannabis oil. I don't intend to smoke it. I'm gonna ingest it, cannabis oil. It's super, it's like a miracle plant basically. It's cured people's cancers. It's cured people's other diseases, chronic pain, all kinds of stuff. I'm gonna try to get into that a little bit, show you that. And what else? Obviously, wind turbine, rain catchment. There's going to be so much going on if I actually get land that the channel will be just exploding with content. So hopefully that's the way things go. Hopefully I'm lucky and something happens like that. Even if, like I say guys, even if I won $1 million, first thing I do, buy land. I'd keep my day job though. Rural property, get it all set up, still live in the tiny house, and then once the tiny house is all set up on the property, I would start building a brand new tiny house as a new project for the channel. This time, knowing all the mistakes I made on this one, and not making them again, and making something really awesome, because then the budget will be bigger, but then I'll also have the knowledge of how to make it awesome from day one. Starting from the frame, I didn't do a lot of stuff on the frame, whereas I should have. And I'd go through the whole process again and be, you know, that'd be a whole new thing. So that's just what my goals are, guys. Hopefully that comes around. And like I say, the winter, this is what happened in the winter at the tiny house. It worked out really well, and all the work paid off. So we'll see you guys on the next one, and I'll be back definitely to do a video on these guys. I want to see how bright they are, and then I want to see if I can rig up a nice on-off switch in the back there via this one here that I saved to run that thing, and maybe have a nice light inside the toolbox, tool pantry back there, and then that way I can see everything. I'm not digging too often. And then also hook up lighting in the back room. There's going to be a ton of work in the back storage room, that's for sure, so no doubt there. Oh, this battery pack's dead. Yeah, it is. So that's, well, it's just about dead. I got to put that guy on charge too before I leave. So I'm going to leave a bunch of stuff on charge. What I might do, I think I will. I'm going to pick up a USB hub of some sort. And I'm going to plug a bunch of stuff into the hub. I'm going to mount it permanently back here. And then, yeah, that's definitely something I want. I'm going to buy a USB hub, a strip, where you can plug multiple USBs in. That way I can charge all this stuff at once, and or just leave it on there all the time. And then when I need something, pull it off, put it back on when I'm gone, and there you go. Because why not? I think that'd be awesome. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest into a nice USB strip. And I even seen one with actual, they each have switches and everything too. So I might do that. I've seen those on Wish. So I'll have to figure about picking one of those up. Because I have three, actually I got four or five power packs now. And I can't, and normally they only give you 2 USB ports to charge stuff anymore. I need about, you know, like 10. Then I can just plug everything in, leave it, and then you're good to go. But like I say, Primo's needs to be charged. I'm charging Charles's in the back there. So definitely I'm going to be hooking that up shortly. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Rob from the Off-Grid Tiny House checking out. And it looks like successful winter at the Off-Grid Tiny House. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Peace out.